Welcome back to AKmtb. Today we're gonna be talking mountain bikes. Since it's the off-season now, that's a perfect opportunity for you to play around with your bike and try out new settings and new things on your bike. And today we're gonna be talking about volume spacers. They look like this. And what this thing does is that it changes the progressiveness of your suspension and your fork. And some of you might never heard about progression and thinking, what is progression? Well, basically, a more progressive fork means that the further down you get to the travel of the fork, the more resistance and force is needed to bottom it out. So that basically means that when you are hitting this very big drop and your fork would normally go all the way down in the bottom and you will feel like, ooh, really hard, I'll bottom out. That could be taken away by adding volume spacers. And what you're doing is that you are reducing the air volume inside of the air chamber. And the more the air gets compressed, the higher the pressure becomes. So that's how a volume reducer works. And they're doing a really good job. By adding this into your fork, you could basically, with the right configuration, remove some air, put in some volume reducers, and you will get a suspension that takes up these small bumps really good, because you're increasing the small bump sensitivity by reducing the air, while the volume spacers is compensating for this reduced air pressure by making your fork more progressive and able to swallow that big hit, even if you lowered the air pressure. And you know what the best thing is? This is really simple to do. Everyone could basically do this. All you need to do that is air pump to do this. You need a 24 millimeters socket wrench like this and some lubrication. My recommendation is to use SRAM butter if you are using a RockShock, but that would probably work pretty good even in a Fox, because you're just putting lubrication on plastic. You could probably use other kind of lubrication as well, but this is my recommendation. So let's dive into it and have a look on how you do it. Start by removing the air cap on your shock. Release the air to make sure that all the air goes out. Compress the fork while you are holding down the release. Take your socket wrench and break up the bolt. And remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. When it's breaking off, remove the air cap completely. When pulling this out, there might already be some volume reducers on it, and different fork can come in different configurations from factory, and there is a maximum amount of volume reducers that you could put in a fork. So make sure that you look in your manual before you adding too many. Next step is all about removing or adding reducers. They are easy to remove because they just thread into each other. When you're adding this, I would recommend you to take some grease and put on the threads and also on the O-ring in the very top. Then it's just a matter of screwing on the amount that you want. Make sure that you grease everyone that you are adding. They don't have to be threaded hard. Just tighten them hand tight, but not hard. When you have the amount of spacers that you wish for, it's time to put them back. Before you do this, take some grease and put on the threads and on this O-ring as well. Start threading this by hand. When you got it on by hand, it's time to use the socket. But be aware and don't tighten it too hard, because this aluminum breaks really easy. It's really soft. Newer forks might have a different tool to remove it. They could also have the same threads as the cassette removal tool. That is actually better because it tends to hold up better. Anyways, you don't want to over tight this. So start getting it all the way down. And when you reach the bottom, tighten it. You don't have to do this very hard. Just hand tight is okay in most cases. Once you got it on, it's time to fill it up with air with your shock pump. Before you take the air out, check your air pressure so you know where you had it. Though, with the volume reducers, you might need to play around with the air pressure and find your new sweet spot. Pump up the air pressure to your liking and remove the air pump and put back the top cap. And that's it. Now you're ready to shred on your bike, and you could ride even harder than before, and you will notice that your bike will feel different. And what you've done now is that you made your bike more progressive, especially your suspension. That means that the lower down it goes on the travel, the more force is required to push it down further. And that is achieved by reducing the air volume inside of the air chamber, which is this part on the fork. It's possible to do the same thing on the rear shock, but that's for another episode. I recommend you to go out and ride your bike, bring the shock pump with you, and play around with the air pressure and see how the bike feels and react to this new modification on your fork. If you like this kind of video, I would recommend you to click here to subscribe and click over here to get a playlist with more how to do videos on mountain bikes and bicycles. Let me know in the comments below if there's something special you want me to feature here on the channel, and I will be doing my best to fulfill your wishes. Thanks for watching, and I see you soon.